going to talk to you today about the project plan. So we're in project management. This is the final week of project management. You're probably all relieved. But one of the most important concepts to know about project management is really this theory of triple constraints. So time, cost, and scope. So if one of these areas, either time, cost, or scope, changed, the other two areas are impacted as well. So as an example, if the scope of your project, the objectives of your project expand and grow, it's going to probably take you more time or cost you more money to finish that project in the quality that you had planned it to be. Similarly, if your budget was cut, you probably couldn't meet as many of your objectives, or it might take you a lot longer to meet the objectives based on that budget adjustment. So the importance of this theory of triple constraints is that if one side of the triangle moves, the rest have to move to give with that change to keep that quality intact. We talked about stakeholders last week, so in your project charter you included some of your stakeholders. They can be end users, your project manager, the project team, all definitely stakeholders. Today, in your project for your Gantt chart, you're going to be creating a work breakdown structure first. And that work breakdown structure, you need to identify all the work that's required by a project, the tasks, the subtasks, the owners, and how long it's going to take. This can be done in a variety of different ways. I have a couple of visuals for you to see. You can even use post-it notes, and that's probably my favorite. Index cards or post-it notes, where you write one task on each of the cards, and then you can arrange them in the order that most makes sense. So here's an example of an outline work breakdown structure where they have special coding here so that you can easily find the task or the item and where it belongs to. And so that's one thing that this has that's a little bit different. If you're using a Microsoft project tool and you're entering this into your task sheet, you can actually automatically have that created for you, so you don't really have to worry about the formatting of that. But basically the outline has the main categories of work. So the buckets called planning, building the site, and finalizing the site. But in these buckets of work, you can't really assign time or an owner because planning is just too big. So then they broke it down further into gathering client requirements, acquiring software, acquiring graphics, designing the page, and designing the structure. But they still found that it still was too big for gathering client requirements and acquiring software to assign people or to assign time. So they broke it out even further. So interviewing the client might be done by somebody different than interviewing or documenting the interview or signing off on the requirements. And that might be happening at different times. So they broke it out a little bit further. So that's what this outline looks like. In a graphical work breakdown structure, maybe it looks a little bit more like a flow chart, but this one is actually grouped by types of activities. So planning and supervising, dinner, the guests, staff, speakers. So just like areas of work as opposed to maybe a sequential work breakdown structure. So under planning and supervising, they put budget, planning, coordination. Under guests, you've got the guest list, the RSVPs, the name tags, special needs, things like that. So probably an invitation, not just a guest list, but invitations would probably be under guests as well. So this gives you an idea of the two different work breakdown structures. The beauty of coming up with this and brainstorming this beforehand is that it makes your project plan so much easier to put together. So it's really a brainstorming activity to create your project plan to make sure you're not missing anything. So those work packages, so the ideas of like planning and budget and coordination, should be small enough to execute. Ideally, in a real project plan, it should be 8 to 80 hours worth of work. In most project plans, you don't want to micro plan 15, 20, 1 hour increments of work. But I have worked with companies that are doing maybe a rollout, and it is a 15-minute to the hour type of project plan for like shutdowns and things like that. So it really depends on what type of project you're working on, but generally they think of 8 to 80 hours worth of work. The reason why they cap it at 80 hours is because you want to start to see progress after 2 weeks so you can report that progress. And you want to make sure that it's easy to assign accountability. Who's the owner of that project item? So an effective way to create a work breakdown structure is to gather your team, provide each member with a packet of Post-its, and ask the following question. What is all the work that is needed to accomplish the major deliverables? So you put your deliverables on your charter. Now you're going to take those deliverables and think about the work that it will take to accomplish that. So they should be clear, easy to understand, all work packages necessary to complete all the summary deliverables. Deliverables should be tangible milestones, making it easy to recognize when they're completed. So for this part of your project, if you do maybe Post-it notes or something more visual, you can take a picture of that and submit the picture as part of the project. Or you could use a PowerPoint, you could use Visio with blocks, whatever you'd like to do. You can get as creative with that as possible. The last thing that we're going to be working on is really looking at your project plan. So most project plans, because we have the work breakdown structure, and you know probably the sequence of the work that needs to be done, which is what the scheduling piece of it is, you can create a task sheet. So over here on the right, without moving my screen hopefully, this is where you would put those items in the work breakdown structure. So task number 1, 2, 3, 4, what you can do predecessors, what comes before, what has to come after. I'm imagining that in your walkthrough audit it's pretty linear, so you don't have to worry about that as much. And then the duration, how much time will it take? So each of these bars over here to the right indicate the length of time that you think that each of the tasks will take. So with that being said, I'm going to flip over into Blackboard and open up the Gantt template. So the Word document that's attached to this explains what's expected of you for this part of the project. And when I click into it, you will see that this is a sample Gantt chart. So this is where you can add all of your tasks and activities, the duration, the start and end times. And if you have a dependency on one, you can note the task ID. So here you just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down here. You can make this as long as you need. This, you know, the walkthrough audit is not a big project, so it shouldn't be too big. And then this is your plan versus actual time. So what I did was I put this out here for you so that you could have kind of a template to go off of what it would look like. Planned is what is your original, so what you're doing now when you're going to start your project and how long that work is going to take. You can use whatever color scheme you want on here. So if this is too confusing, you can just delete those rows and start on the bottom fresh, whatever you'd like to do. If you're familiar with Microsoft Project, you can certainly put it in Microsoft Project. It's free to download a trial version too if you wanted to play around with it, but that's not expected. Basically, this is just a simple Excel sheet. When you want to color in an area, let's say I had a task listed here, whatever it might be, and I wanted to color shade these areas in. This is when you can do the bucket fill. So you can pick your color, okay? I can then merge and center if I wanted to merge and center those items so you could see that it was all together. I can also create a border around it by doing this. Just an outside border so that it's all together. You can do diagonal lines and things like that in there. That would be in more of the formatting section, and to be honest, I'm not even sure how I did that, so you don't have to necessarily worry about that. But I would keep your actual colors the same color, or your planned colors the same color, and then the actual colors a different color, so that you can see the difference between what was planned and what actually happened. And you can always do just a black color too for this. My mouse is not working right now. So I could just do black and fill the actual in that way and have the maybe planned in green or whatever I picked so that you can see the difference. So this is what actually happened and this is what you thought would happen. So that's what we're going to be tracking. So the initial piece is going to be all your tasks and activities, your planned start and end times. And you're going to graph out those start dates and end dates by putting colors in the planned rows. And then when you submit your updates, because in here You'll be submitting an update on 10/26 and an update on November 30th. You will continue to update that project plan with your completed bars. So the black bars would go in then on your updates so we can see how far you are. So the goal for this is one, to give you a little bit of experience in project planning, but also to keep you on track for your final project, the walkthrough audit, because I know by the time Thanksgiving comes, it's really difficult to get everything crammed in. So I'm hoping that this helps keep us all on track. So again, the PowerPoint that I went through to explain this was here. There's also a handout that goes along with it that I do for my project management classes. And then this is the assignment for this week. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.